What is going on, all of my wankers out there? I am bringing you a bright and early podcast this morning. As you know, UVA played again last night. I was really debating on doing this one. Got a lot of content out there, but y'all live for these ones. So we got a win last night, and I feel like it's only natural to Evan ranks it. So introduction, no need. I'm Evan. This is Evan Ranks. I believe it's episode 12. We are moving and grooving with this podcast. If you guys are here to see me retire, I would absolutely love a follow, a ranking, like a 5-star review. We'll call them rankings just for the point of the podcast, but go like me on all socials, show your friends, tell your family, maybe not tell your family, but let's blow me up, guys. 2024 is going to be our year. Once I get famous, I'll be able to hire all of you all, and you guys can quit your jobs and start working for me. I think that sounds like a win-win for all of us. But today's podcast is brought to you by Walker's Home Services. Yes, Walker's Home Services, where any job around the house is honestly a walk in the park for him. So shout out Hunter Walker for the sponsor again. You can see his little logo here in the corner, something new we're doing so he can get as much publicity out there so he can advertise on the radio. For some reason, I blow up and retire. You should still advertise on the radio. I'll make something happen for you. But yeah, just keep that in your back pocket. No pressure, of course. But brought to you by Walker's Home Services. Let's get into the pod, man. This was let me actually start out by apologizing to everybody. I'd like to formally apologize for being that negative UVA fan. I listened back to my 2 other podcasts and I was praising that I wasn't that UVA fan and that I don't know how to word this, that we won a national championship, so now I'm not going to be begging for one. I know we're not going to, but I think I was a little too negative in those podcasts. I think my opinions on a couple of the players might have been chosen a little too early. I judged them based on their road performances and not their overall abilities. We're just a different ball club at home, man. I think that's a negative, but we played really freaking well at home in front of our home crowds. I don't want to give Corey Alexander a shout out just because he's not my favorite commentator, but he was spitting straight facts last night on the air saying, there's only a handful of players on this UVA team, handful meaning 2. There's only these 2 guys that are willing to go on the road and shut the crowd up, Beekman and Dunn. Now, he also had a good point that I've been preaching here, as I watched Ryan Dunn, as I went back and looked at his stats the past couple of games, he has been double figures. He has been rebounding the ball decently well. I can see where he is a draft pick. I want to retract my statement and say I can see where he is a draft pick this year just based on his athleticism. I don't think he'll be successful in the NBA until he can fix his inside/perimeter game, his shooting, his jump shot. I think needs some work. It ain't broken by any means. I mean, he's got a nice shot on him. Just the ball needs to go in. So I do want to formally apologize for that. It was a hell of a win last night, guys. I mean, it was a pleasure to watch them play. It was the biggest takeaway for me was all about confidence, man. Like, it's hard to have that confidence, especially as such a young team going on the road, but you just got to have it. I mean, again, Corey Alexander kind of stole all of my podcast thunder because he said all my main points during the game. So if you were listening, you heard roughly everything that I'm about to say, but I'll probably say it better. So UVA, if you're looking to hire a non-alumnus to do your sports casting, I would gladly take Corey Alexander's job. Tony Bennett is never going to yell at me, but early on, we sort of asserted our dominance. I mean, the confidence was there. So let's start with Rhodey because Rhodey really surprised me in this game. I had a lot of reservations after the couple of games that I watched of him. He, lackadaisical, slow moving. His passes were slow. They seemed forced. He did force a couple of passes last night, but his basketball IQ was working. Like one of them was a double team trying to move in on him and he saw the open guy. So he tried to fling it through him and it just got deflected. I mean, that's smart basketball. You got to take those risks when you're this team. You're not a high-scoring team half the time, and the other half the time you are, just solely because you got your three-point shooters working their magic. But his passes were flying out of his hand. He wasn't doing that before. He drove to the basket yesterday for a layup, finished by Ryan Dunn. He didn't make the layup, but he was aggressive. He was confident. He was quick. This is the roadie that I was expecting to come into the program with a little fire under his ass. And we're starting to see it now. I guess it just took a little bit of that home crowd to steer us back in the right direction. But honestly, I mean, yes, I said he takes some shots that aren't necessary, some early shots in the shot clock, but he did knock down a couple of threes. He had, a couple of nice shots here and there. So he did contribute in the way that we want him to contribute. I think if he plays to that caliber, if he plays that aggressive, fast pace sort of, and it's not even like fast pace, it's just that he's moving faster. Between him and Reese, the way they run up and down the court, they kind of look like a retirement home trying to play pickup YMCA basketball at ACAC. I mean, they're not the fastest when they want to be. They're fast when they want to be. That's how I should word that. Then I got my notes here, so I'm trying to stick to it because I did write down a lot of good things here for our content. But, the announcers were giving a lot of praise to Reese. I think Reese deserves it 100%. And I love the lineups that Tony was using last night. I think he was experimenting a lot with what can we do here and here? How can we make our guys better? How can we make these guys learn, be more successful? Because at the end of the day, and I've been saying it for the past 2 other podcasts, if we're not confident that we're going to make a huge run, which I don't think we are, I want these young guys to learn from the older guys. I want Buchanan out there next to Groves. Yes, you take height away a little bit in other lineups, but you're giving him high-quality minutes to learn to be a big. Groves is a stretch big. He can shoot the 3. We're asking him to play the 5 role instead of the 4 stretch or even a 3. At those big name schools, he literally could be a small forward and number 3 man, but he's playing our 5. And he's playing a pretty damn good job at it. I think that's the best thing moving out of this. Groves is going to be key in ACC play. Him and Buchanan need to give us quality inside the paint minutes. We need to forget about Jordan Minor. Yes, he's big. Yes, he's physical, but the man does not know what he's doing out there. And we need to stick to our guns and what this is. We need Groves and Beekman to do well. Did I say Beekman? He needs to do well too. All of them need to contribute, but we really need that inside presence. And I think that's going to be the key moving forward here. I took note early on. I think we weren't struggling, but I do want to see more of the Beekman show. I want to see him he did have a lot of drives in there. Sometimes he dishes it out. Sometimes he pulls up for a jump shot. Sometimes he gets a layup. I want to see that all the time because that's the playmaker he is. He can shoot the 3 too, as we saw. He knocked down a 3 pretty deep out there, and it was a good shot. So, I want to see him shoot the ball with confidence. That's the biggest thing moving forward. It's hard. You looked at the 3-point stats after the game. I think against Notre Dame, we were 2 for 11, and in this one, we were like 7 for something. Let's pull up the stats. UVA versus Louisville basketball. So we shot lights out from the 3. I want to see here if I can't see the stats. Let's see here. 3-pointers. We were 10 for 26, which isn't crazy good, but it's not bad at all. The more you shoot the ball, the more you're going to make, the more you're going to find a rhythm there. We saw that with McNeely tonight. McNeely finished with 18 points. That's the McNeely that we want to see. He ended up shooting the ball. How many times did he shoot the ball? Does it tell us? No, it doesn't tell us, but he ended up finishing with 18. He had a good freaking game, and you could see early on he missed a handful of shots, but guess what? He kept shooting. Rhodey went out there. He kept shooting, and the announcers had been talking. They're like, dude, Tony just wants to see you come out of here and shoot with confidence. You could miss 7 shots, make 4, but if you're shooting the ball and it looks like you're shooting with confidence, he's going to keep you out there because that's something we need right now. We need those players to say, crap, coach, I just missed a wide open 3. We'll hustle back on defense, get the ball, come back down, and make one. We want to see that there. So I think that was a big thing to note that McNeely finally showed back up. I think he is a big home crowd guy. I want to see him mold into. I know ball handling wise he won't be, but a Reese Beekman to an extent. I want to see him be that humble yet silencer for our team, especially if Ryan Dunn ends up leaving with Beekman. I mean, we need someone who's electric and who can take charge. I think between him and Rhodey, if they learn throughout the rest of the season and take what Beekman and Dunn can teach both of them, I think we'll be better off. And I mean, a lot of praise goes to Ryan Dunn. He's a sophomore. He's young. What did he end up finishing with? He ended up finishing with a double double, actually, 10 boards and 15 points. I mean, I don't want to dwell on it too much, but I can see where Ryan Dunn has a lot of potential moving forward. The announcers actually, this is completely unrelated to the podcast or to UVA's ranking throughout this game, but the announcers were beefing because they were talking about other ACC teams. PJ Walker on Clemson, and I believe his name's like DJ something on UNC. But he had Tyrese Proctor for Duke is back in the lineup, and the older announcer was like, "Oh, I think he's the best ACC player." Whatever. And Corey Alexander made this dude feel like shit. He straight like laughed at him. He was like, "You are crazy. You retake that statement. You do whatever." And he really meant he had the highest ceiling. I'm going to go out there and say that Ryan Dunn's got the highest ceiling right now. I mean, I watched that Duke Syracuse game, and Tyrese Proctor is back in action. I know it takes a little bit of time to get back out there, get back on your feet, and get back to the ebbs and flows of college basketball. But Ryan Dunn has played actually pretty consistent, and I messed up similar to the announcer. I should have specified my words better that I couldn't see him as a high draft pick right now because of his perimeter shooting. I think that can change. I think he does have the highest ceiling moving forward, but he does put up decent numbers. Just to give you another stat here, Beekman had 8 assists and 11 points. That's what we like to see here. And the special shout out of today's podcast is going to Tane Murray, man. Hunter, this is your boy, and he showed up today. Corey Alexander called him out and said, "I don't think I've ever seen him make more than one shot in the paint." And he had two. He had a reverse layup, and then he had another drive to the basket. He had two threes, I believe. I mean, he was a force to be reckoned with last night. And props to Tane. He was playing with confidence. He usually doesn't play with confidence. He looks kind of like he doesn't want to be out or that he feels like he doesn't deserve to be out there. Tane, you deserve to be out there just like everybody else. You might not be the flashiest player. You might not be the Reese Beekman or the Ryan Dunn. But, dude, if you ball out like that, you can get high quality minutes. You're a good basketball player. You just got to start using that confidence. You're at a D1 program. You've been there a couple of years now. I believe you're a junior. Like, let's lock and load, baby. Like, don't be afraid to shoot that ball. We need you to. Um, Something else to note here is I mentioned the lineups. Tony Bennett played a lot with the lineups, and there were a decent amount of lineups that I really enjoyed. I only wrote down one of them, but if you were paying attention, you could see that he was mixing it up quite a bit. Like there was Bond, Gertrude, Buchanan, Murray, and Beekman. You put these guys out there, and yes, you're winning, and you could only put them out there because you're winning, but Beekman's your guy. Beekman is the guy that's going to be able to teach these guys how to move forward and just be a better club come next year. And I think having Bond, Gertrude, Buchanan, and Murray out there at the same time, maybe even take Murray out, put McNeely in. I mean, that lineup was solid too. The Groves and Buchanan double lineup where you had those two, Rhodey, Beekman, and Dunn. I mean, you saw how different of a player Ryan Dunn was as that number three instead of the paint guy. He was cutting to the basket hard. He was getting the cuts. He was going up strong, getting fouls. All that fun stuff is what contributed to this win. We weren't playing like this before. I don't know why we didn't play around with our lineups when you're losing by 20 on a road game. Like, mess around with it. I'm sorry, but we don't need to throw Tristan Howe out there and people who don't know what they're doing. I want to see these experienced guys mixed in with the young guys so they can learn. I really like Gertrude getting in the game because he needs that in-game experience. We burnt that red shirt. We can't waste it. Put him out there. Let him learn. Let him experience that high caliber ACC play. And if it becomes too much, put someone else in and we'll rock from there. But this year really needs to be that sort of learning experience and where we can grow. I think we can make the tournament. I think we probably could win a handful of games throughout the tournament, but it's going to be a challenge when all of those games are at neutral sites on the road. You don't have your home crowd fans out there. And that's the biggest thing for us is we're a home basketball team. That needs to change. I mean, it's going to be difficult going down to Duke or going down to UNC and playing against those guys and coming out with wins when we're not prepared to play against teams on the road. Like that's got to change. Um, let's see here. Playing physical and faster is one of the things that I wrote down like 12 times. I mean, Groves played physical a couple of times earlier. I think Dunn's a physical player, but we really took it to this Louisville team. I know Louisville team was a little bit smaller. Their big guy was a little bit skinnier, so he matched up well against Buchanan and Groves. But Buchanan was trying to play a more physical post game. I know we got called for a couple of fouls down low, but that's what I want to see. I'm okay with you getting two fouls in the game, but them being physical fouls is going to show that you can't get pushed around down in the paint. And it, you're going to be our big man. You're a good, high quality player, and we need you next year. We need this physicality coming from you. So I mean, just to see that faster play, and it's not even like changing the mold of UVA's program. I feel like UVA has this program of we are slow, we're going to hold the ball, we're going to pass it around as much as possible, take shots low in the shot clock, make you work on offense. So we'll play a whole 30 seconds on defense. We played really well defense. There was one possession that I could note where Ryan Dunn hustled. We got the shot clock down. He knocked the ball out. There's like 2 seconds left on their shot clock. They pass it inside and get an easy layup. That can't happen every time, but it does happen. Good programs have bad sequences throughout the games, and the good programs that continue to win overcome that, and we just have to overcome it. Um, and to get back to my point, when I'm talking about faster and more physical, the physical aspect is easy to understand. The faster isn't what I'm explaining as to where we're running up and down the court like, these SEC teams and then you chuck up a three. I mean, I was watching the Clemson game after, and their point guard just ran, sprinted up the court, shot a three, missed it, came back on defense, sprinted up the court. PJ Walker couldn't even get up the court before he passed to someone else. I mean, that's not the fast that I'm talking about. I'm talking about us looking faster and crisper throughout our on ball movement, our off ball movement, our passing, our cuts. I mean, we just looked more ready to play. There wasn't that sort of lackadaisical, and I hate to throw Ruddy under the bus, but in that Notre Dame game, there's so many, and the Memphis game, there's so many passes where it was just kind of like here's the ball, man. No, I want to see that fling. Like I said earlier on the podcast, you can throw it out of bounds or get a kickball. We had a kickball earlier in the game. Like, we're not forcing passes. We're getting good looks at other players trying to move the ball and move the ball faster to get that open guy. That's how you win. I mean, you put a zone out there, and Louisville played a lot of zone defense yesterday. And that means a lot of times if you move the ball fast around the perimeter, inside, outside, you're going to have a lot more open shots. Let's see here. What else do I have? Oh, a big shout out to the old announcer guy. He had to throw in there on the grounds. Talking about Charlottesville, it's like, and we are on the grounds. I do really like when the announcers get into the culture of UVA. I think that's why UVA has sort of the fan base we do have and the culture, the winning culture that we've built over the years. And that does come back to my apology in the beginning of the podcast. I think we all sort of end up getting that UVA fan syndrome and having those negative thoughts where we could do better. We know how to, fix the program. And that is just my opinion. I think some of what I said is true. I think some of what I said was an over exaggeration, which I did apologize for. But, we do have this sort of culture at UVA that is a winning culture. And when we lose, we're not used to it. But a lot of teams have that winning culture and still have, these tough losses. We are a home team. I think that's the truth and what we experienced over the past 3 games. We just got to take and learn from it. I mean, I've been saying that in the other 2 podcasts, but it's the truth. If we play like we did last night, I think we can compete against any ACC team, truthfully. I think when you think about Filipowski and PJ Hall, it's going to be a difficult matchup. And that's just where my guy Groves needs to step up. He needs to be that big 5 man. I know we're asking a lot of them coming from the transfer portal and sort of being that, 3 man over at Oklahoma. I want to see him be that 4 or 5. He needs to be the 5 technically. But when we play these bigger ACC teams, we got to get the double bigs down there in the post, and they have to play defense. We need to have that Buchanan and Groves matchup just so we can kind of keep that physicality and the height going. I know it struggles throughout the ebbs and flows of the game when you have substitutions and different people check in, but not everybody is a 7-foot Filipowski or a physical 3-point shooter, big man like PJ Hall. But Groves could be that guy. I mean, he's big enough. He might not be the built like PJ Hall, but I think Groves has a lot going for him, and I really do think he's going to have a key part to our success moving forward to March. Um, Another shout out would go to McNeely just for that little buzzer beater. I think that was a great shot. Something that I was also impressed with was Ryan Dunn's fadeaway. Late in the shot clock, he sort of just turned, threw it up, and it went in. That's the shooting NBA scouts are looking for, Dunn. They are looking for you to be able to take those shots, make them, capitalize on them. You're a great rebound. You're super athletic. And like I said, got the high ceiling moving forward. So let's break that ceiling on open. I want to move into my ranking here just because I think second half is kind of a blur when you're winning. The morale of the other team sort of hits the fan, and they're just kind of out there playing for fun. At the end of the game, 2 minutes left, everybody threw their subs in. So you think about it, and you have however long that you were playing, and it's not going your way, so you sort of give up, throw these guys out there. I mean, we've been there before, but second half, there's sort of not many highlights just because you're playing your game, you're in control, and everybody was just catching heat. I know in the second half, McNeely had a handful of shots where he was just on fire. Coach took him out, and it was more or less to seal the victory and let other guys play. But overall, it was a high quality performance. The key players to note moving forward aren't going to be Beekman and Dunn. Personally, yes, I will be paying more attention to them just per draft information. But Rode, Murray, and then Groves are all going to be guys. Oh, and McNeely. Those are all going to be guys that are going to be very important moving forward. Sorry, I got Ollie bugging me here on the camera. But yeah, to get into the ranking, this would be, I'd say, an 8.9. There's a lot of stuff we can still do. We can continue to get better. We can take this and move forward. But I was really pleased with this team. This is the UVA team that we kind of saw early on in the year against Florida. And who's that other team we played? What was our schedule? You guys already know. I don't need to look it up. But this game and these players playing the way that they played is what we're going to want to see moving forward. So a high quality win. It was against an ACC team. We really needed that ACC win to stay in the hunt where we were projected at 4. I still see that as a possibility. We just got to keep playing to this, caliber play that we have been experiencing throughout this game, not the other 2 road games. So we're going to have to button up on the road, but I do expect big things to come. Evan ranks UVA's win against Louisville in 8.9. I would get into the stranger of the day, but it is bright, bushy-tailed, and early this morning. I had to wake up extra early so I could get this podcast to you all. So I haven't interacted with any strangers. But I guess stranger of the day would go to that lady walking her dog yesterday. Got a super, or dog. Could I just give it to the dog? I don't know the woman, but the dog was super cute. So Stranger of the Day goes to the chocolate lab that was going on a walk yesterday. That's going to do it for the podcast. I hope you all enjoyed it. I know you guys really like these UVA ones just because we all have our own opinions. It's cool to hear mine. I'd love to get a collab going after one of these games, maybe have one of you guys pop on here. But yeah, it was a high quality win. I look forward to the next one. Thank you again to our sponsor, Walker's Home Services. And yeah, I just appreciate y'all being here. So tune in later. I got a guest coming on later. So we are recording that today. And then it will most likely be out over the weekend. I've got a lot of content out there. I need people to catch up on it before I start moving forward even more. But yeah, tune in to my guest coming soon. But that's going to be it for today, folks. And I will see you all in the next one.